Okay, guys, I figured I'd give you a little rundown of how we are going to turn this Heltec V4 and this Menards solar light into a solar mesh node. Excuse me while I move my chair here and find my multimeter probes. Now, the first thing to look for when you open these guys up, it kind of really doesn't matter what features these boards have. They're going to have one thing in common, and that's a battery and a solar panel. The way you can suss out how this is wired, you're going to have a negative lead here coming from the battery to the board, and somewhere else that has continuity to that, you're going to have a negative lead coming from your solar cell. Positive is going to go from the solar cell to the board somewhere that does not have continuity here to this red wire, which is our battery positive. And in this case, that means if we probe here, move that so you can see, here and on the solar input, because we have no solar light, if we shined a flashlight on there, we would get voltage. We go one pin over, we see our 4.2-ish volts. So what we can do is we can solder a power connector directly onto there, and we can do that to the battery positive and the negative for the solar and the battery. The drill and insert antenna procedure is pretty self-explanatory. Find a place you can put the hole, make the hole the right size, put it in there, and off you go. Of course, few first tricky bits that we have to do is we are going to have to flash this with our firmware. I already have the loader up, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the user button down, and this has now been put into DFU mode. Since we've done that, we don't have to worry about the radio having any actual damage done to it. And we are going to find him there, connect, and it is erasing. And in just a moment here, this guy will be a brand new Meshtastic node. Get ready for my next couple of steps here. Now, mind you that the actual soldering portion of this was maybe 4 minutes of my life, and there is not a whole lot that you can do wrong here if you know how to solder halfway proficiently that you won't be able to fix by yourself. Relatively easy just by holding things a little bit better in place and retacking them down with the soldering iron. They're not exactly manufactured with the heights of micro soldering in mind, so no worries there. And okay, our flash is complete. We are going to give a reset real quick just to make sure that everything boots up. All right, there is Meshtastic. Radio is disabled. So we are going to plug in our low loss connector here to the antenna that is already installed. All right, and make sure you put this into the battery port, not the solar port if you have a V4. And we should see this guy boot up here in just a second. Yep, there we go. All right, and we can go ahead and set to US LoRa region. And we are going to do the hardest part of the entire thing. We are going to tape this board in place with Kapton so that it doesn't come loose inside of there after we button this up. let's see here. So there we have our Meshtastic radio. It looks like it is alive. And if I could only find my cutters. Well, Jesus Christ invented the Leatherman for a reason, so that I have something to cut Kapton tape with. I tend to use Kapton tape or other non-conductive things that are also heat resistant, instead of just worrying about the conductivity. Kapton is, of course, very heat resistant. You can use it to block heat from other things while you are soldering, and it's just to hold it in place while I'm working. And so if you're using like a hot air wand and you're trying to remove a small 0102 surface mount transistor, you can essentially just rely on the Kapton to keep it from obliterating the entire board with heat as you're trying to heat up just a small surface area to above that that reflow temperature. All right, and that is, as far as I can tell, a working node. So we are going to take my USB cable back, and we are going to go to client.meshtastic.org. And I have literally, as of today, found my Bluetooth connector. So we are going to pair up with this. This is Charlie 760, and that is Charlie 760. So we will pair with him. You're not going to be able to see what's going on the screen up here, but I promise I'll try to make this at least halfway entertaining for you. All right. It's just loading all the first bits of info for the first time around. Well, let's use a little bit of imagination here. Actually, we can use the serial, I believe. Charge that battery up as we're going, I guess. There is our serial. Okay, cool. Highly questionable USB adapter over here. Probably just isn't new enough for the Bluetooth on that. We are going to configure a couple of things on this real quick here. We are going to change this into a normal client. We are going to put in config here in LoRa. We're going to make sure all our settings are fine there. We're going to change the device name to is actually, I believe, all the config that I need to change there, and I already have a few nodes listed up in my general area, and we can take a look here with our M2 or B3 tracker that I have. I can send a new message to long fast high, and we can see that we have our new message received on this LoRa node over here. So at this point, all I got to do is put a little bit more tape in here, close those guys back up, and hang this on the wall. So, you know, if you're kind of curious into how to get into this and how to get some more obscure locations for your nodes, this is a very cheap and effective way to do this. I have this was a $5 solar light, I do believe. I'm probably gonna have to mess around with exactly where that MCU sits at, but somewhere in here. Anyways, yeah, $5 and you get a whole solar light out of it. And the solar light still actually works in the end.